When you picture a Roman wedding, what comes to mind? Maybe a bride in a flowing white tunic, a delicate saffron veil, and a crown of flowers. You might imagine a joyful procession through the streets, with friends and family singing songs and throwing walnuts for good luck. This is the image we often get from movies and books, a romantic, celebratory affair. But this public spectacle was just one side of the story. Behind closed doors, away from the cheering crowds, a series of disturbing and legally binding rituals took place. These rituals were not about love or romance. They were about law, property, and control. Tonight, we'll uncover the hidden truth of what it really meant to be a bride in ancient Rome, through the eyes of an 18-year-old girl named Livia Tessa on her wedding night. The year is 120 AD. Livia, wrapped in obrador flammeum, has just been carried over the threshold of her new home. The public part of her wedding is over. The guests have eaten, the songs have been sung, and the traditional walnuts have been scattered. But for Livia, the most terrifying part of the night is just beginning. Her marriage isn't legally complete yet. In ancient Rome, marriage was a legal transaction, a formal transfer of a woman from the authority of her father, known as the patria potestas, to the authority of her husband, called dien manum. Livia is essentially property being moved from one owner to another. And like any valuable property, the transaction had to be verified, documented, and witnessed. The consummation of the marriage was not a private, intimate moment. It was a cold procedural event designed to prove her virginity and her new status as her husband's possession. As the heavy wooden door of the cubiculum, the bedroom, closes behind her, Livia feels a chill despite the warm Roman air. The room isn't empty. Waiting for her are not just her new husband, but a group of solemn-faced witnesses. Among them are respected family members, a physician, and several household slaves. Their purpose is to observe and confirm that the marriage is legally finalized. Livia's heart pounds in her chest. Her mother had warned her about this moment in hushed, fearful tones. She told her to be brave, to do as she was told, and not to bring shame upon their family. Refusal was not an option. It would invalidate the marriage, void the contract, and bring catastrophic disgrace to her and her entire lineage. She would be an outcast, her future ruined forever. The public procession to her husband's house, which seemed like a celebration to onlookers, was actually a ritual of submission. As Livia was led through the streets, boys would ask her for her scattered walnuts, a symbol of leaving childhood behind. But there was a darker undertone. Taunts and crude jokes were often shouted by the crowd, reminding the bride of her duty to produce heirs and her new subordinate role. It was a public display of her transfer of ownership. Now, in the private chamber, the true meaning of that transfer becomes terrifyingly clear. This isn't about two people starting a life together. It's about a legal system asserting its control over a woman's body, reducing her to a vessel for procreation. In the center of the room, standing on a small pedestal, is an object that makes Livia's blood run cold. It is a carved wooden figure, a phallic representation of the god Mutinous Tutanus. He was a Roman deity associated with fertility, but his role in the wedding ceremony was far more sinister. This was not a symbolic prayer for children. It was a ritual of humiliation and submission. Under the watchful eyes of the witnesses, Livia is instructed to approach the statue. The ritual required the new bride to straddle the figure or perform some other act of interaction with it. This act, called incensio, was meant to symbolically break her virginity and ensure her future fertility, all while reinforcing her subservience to the patriarchal order and the gods who upheld it. The entire ritual was designed to strip away her individuality and assert complete control. It was a stark reminder that her body was no longer her own. It belonged to her husband, her new family, and to the Roman state, which depended on her to produce legitimate heirs. Every Roman noblewoman was expected to endure this, right? It was a shared, unspoken trauma, a cornerstone of the society that was deliberately kept hidden from public view. The silence surrounding these practices is deafening. Even Roman historians and poets, who documented so many other aspects of daily life, were remarkably discreet when it came to the specifics of the wedding night rituals. Men like Cicero and Tacitus wrote about marriage laws and contracts, but they shied away from describing the raw physical reality of what brides endured. After the ordeal with the statue of Mutinus Tutinus, the night's proceedings were still not over. A physician steps forward. His job is to conduct a physical examination of Livia. He is there to officially verify and document her virginity before the consummation with her husband. Every detail of her physical state is noted. Was the hymen intact? Were there any signs of prior relations? This was not a medical checkup for her well-being. It was a forensic inspection to confirm the purity of the property being transferred. The physician's findings would be recorded, a legal document attesting to the fact that the groom had received an undamaged bride, thus fulfilling the terms of the marriage contract. The weight of this moment is immense. Livia is just a teenager, and she is being subjected to a series of deeply invasive and dehumanizing acts, all under the guise of tradition and law. This chilling reality stands in stark contrast to the sophisticated civilization we associate with ancient Rome. They were masters of law, engineering, and philosophy. Yet their society was built on a foundation that treated women as little more than breeding stock. The legal and social structures were incredibly advanced, but they coexisted with rituals that we would today consider barbaric. It's a tension at the heart of Roman culture. Coexistence of high civilization and profound inhumanity. The experiences of women like Livia have been largely erased from history. They endured these rituals in silence. Their stories unrecorded, and their voices unheard. They were expected to move on, to become dutiful Roman matrons, and to never speak of the trauma of their wedding night. So what happened to these rituals? The rise of Christianity played a major role in their decline. Early Christian writers like Tertullian and Augustine condemned these pagan practices as immoral and obscene. As Christianity became the dominant religion of the Roman Empire, these older, more explicit rituals were suppressed and eventually replaced with new ceremonies centered on Christian values of modesty and spiritual union. Over time, the memory of what women like Livia endured faded, replaced by the more palatable, romanticized version of Roman weddings we know today. The historical record was effectively sanitized, leaving behind only the public-facing elements of the ceremony, the white dress, the veil, and the celebratory feast. The story of Livia Teresa's wedding night is a powerful and unsettling reminder that history is often written by the victors, and in this case, by men. It forces us to look beyond the grand narratives of empires and battles and to consider the hidden lives of those who had no power to tell their own stories. The romantic image of a Roman wedding masks a brutal system of legal and social control, where a woman's worth was measured by her purity and her ability to produce heirs. By uncovering these forgotten rituals, we gain a more complete and far more disturbing understanding of what it truly meant to be a woman in the ancient world. It's a history that was deliberately hidden, but one that deserves to be remembered. Thank you for watching. If you found this glimpse into the hidden side of history interesting, please like this video and subscribe for more stories that challenge what you thought you knew about the past.